Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. I will not accept if nominated and will not serve if elected. This often repeated quote by General William Tecumseh Sherman, his refusal to be considered a candidate for President of the United States in 1884, speaks volumes to his determination not to ever become a political figure. This is not the first time he went public with his feelings. 13 years earlier, in 1871, when the Republican Party urged him to join other notable generals from George Washington on to lead into the political arena at the time, Sherman stated for the record, I hereby state and mean all that I say, that I have never been and never will be a candidate for president, that, if nominated by either party, I should peremptorily decline, and even if unanimously elected, I should decline to serve. During those 13 years that followed, Sherman had plenty of opportunities to say exactly what he felt to those who knew and tried to lure him onto the national stage. That 1884 response, now made much more streamlined as I will not accept if nominated and will not serve if elected, again thwarted the politicians who knew that Sherman's name at the head of the ticket would mean instant victory for the Republicans. In fact, the person who did receive the nomination that year was James G. Blaine, and he promptly lost to Democrat Grover Cleveland in the general election. Behind Sherman's brief statement is a letter that more fully explains why he chose not to ever run. I want to read it to you because it provides a fuller understanding of just exactly why politics were not his thing. Let's start with a very brief letter written by James G. Blaine to Sherman. This is the letter that prompted Sherman's response. The Blaine letter is dated May 25th, 1884, and on top of it, it says, confidentially, strictly and absolutely so. My dear General, this letter requires no answer. After reading it, file it away in your most secret drawer or give it to the flames. As the approaching convention at Chicago is more than possible, it is indeed not improbable that you may be nominated for the presidency. If so, you must stand your hand, accept the responsibility, and assume the duties of the place to which you will surely be chosen if a candidate. You must not look upon it as the work of the politicians. If it comes to you, it will come as the groundswell of popular demand, and you can no more refuse than you can have refused to obey an order when you were a lieutenant in the army. If it come to you at all, it will come as a call of patriotism. It would, in such an event, injure your great fame as much to decline it as it would for you to seek it. Your historic record, full as it is, would be rendered still more glorious by such an administration as you would be able to give the country. And do not say a word in advance of the convention, no matter who may ask you. You are with your friends who will jealously guard your honor and your renown, your friend, James G. Blaine. Now, here's Sherman's response, dated from St. Louis, Missouri, May 28, 1884. Honorable James G. Blaine, Washington, D.C. My dear friend, I have received your letter, shall construe it as absolutely confidential, not intimating even to any member of my family that I have heard from you. And though you may not expect an answer, I hope you will not construe one as unwarranted. I have a great many letters from all points of the compass to a similar effect, one or two of which I have answered frankly, but the great mass are unanswered. I ought not to submit myself to the cheap ridicule of declining what is not offered, but it is only fair to the many really able men who rightfully aspire to the high honor of being President of the United States to let them know that I am not and must not be construed as a rival. In every man's life occurs an epoch when he must choose his own career and when he may not throw off the responsibility or tamely place his destiny in the hands of friends. Mine occurred in Louisiana when, in 1861, alone in the midst of a people blinded by supposed wrongs, I resolved to stand by the Union as long as a fragment of it survived on which to cling. Since then, through faction, tempest, war, and peace, my career has been all my family and friends could ask. We are now in a good house of our own choice, with reasonable provisions for old age, surrounded by kind and admiring friends, in a community where Catholicism is held in respect and veneration, and where my children will naturally grow up in contact with an industrious and frugal people. You have known and appreciated Mrs. Sherman from childhood, have also known each and all the members of my family, and can understand without an explanation from me how their thoughts and feelings should and ought to influence my action. But I will not even throw off on them the responsibility. I will not, in any event, entertain or accept a nomination as a candidate for president by the Chicago Republican Convention or any other convention for reasons personal to myself. I claim that the Civil War, in which I simply did a man's fair share of work, so perfectly accomplished peace that military men have an absolute right to rest and to demand that men who have been schooled in the arts and practice of peace shall now do their work equally well. Any senator can step from his chair at the Capitol into the White House and fulfill the office of president with more skill and success than a Grant, Sherman, or Sheridan, who were soldiers by education and nature, who filled well their office when the country was in danger, but were not schooled in the practice by which civil communities are and should be governed. I claim that our experience since 1865 demonstrates the truth of this my proposition. Therefore, I say that patriotism does not demand of me what I construe as a sacrifice of judgment, of inclination, and of self interest. I have my personal affairs in a state of absolute safety and comfort. I owe no man a cent, have no expensive habits, envy no man his wealth or power, no complications or indirect liabilities, and would account myself a fool, a madman, an ass to embark anew at 65 years of age in a career that may become at any moment tempest tossed by perfidy, the defalcation, the dishonesty, or neglect of any single one of 100,000 subordinates utterly unknown to the President of the United States, not to say the eternal worriment of a vast host of impecunious friends and old military subordinates. Even as is I am tortured by the charitable appeals of poor, distressed pensioners, but as president, these will be multiplied beyond human endurance. I remember well the experience of Generals Jackson, Harrison, Taylor, Grant, Hayes, and Garfield, all elected because of their military services, and am warned, not encouraged, by their sad experiences. The civilians of the United States should and must buffet with this thankless office and leave us old soldiers to enjoy the peace we fought for and think we earned. With profound respect, your friend, W.T. Sherman. So there's the deeper, fuller answer of Sherman that hopefully provides some additional light on why he vowed never ever to become a politician. He was a general, he did his job, He felt it did it well. He was now an older man and entitled to rest and let those who declare their expertise in statecraft to be the ones to lead the nation in times of diplomacy and negotiation. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.